Welcome to the podcast where we discuss all matters financial planning and investing. This content contains general information only and may not be relevant to everyone. Please contact our office to make sure and determine if this is relevant for you.
Your next million, where's it going to come from? And have you made $1 million before? And if you have, are you going to be able to repeat that in the same process you did? I think it's a really interesting conversation around. People come to me all the time saying, how do I build my wealth? This is where I am. What's my next move and all those type of things. And it comes down to generally people are going to be making money, whether through property, through their business, through the share market, through super or whatever it may be. But whatever got you to your first million is probably going to be harder to actually make your second one and third one and fourth one and fifth one and beyond that. What I always felt like being able to become a millionaire was like a major milestone. And I think it was a little bit empty when I actually got there. I was lucky enough to do that when I was 36. So it was a long time ago. I'm 51 now. And since then, obviously, I've moved on and past that. And my goals now are totally different to they were when I was trying to make my first million. And if you're trying to make your second million, I'm not really talking about making your first million here. I'm going to talk about that second one. And you really got three options. Really, you've got the share market, generally you've got superannuation, and you've got the property market for most people. There are the ones who out there are into business and all those sorts of things, and it's way harder, and it's a whole different field, and I'll just actually stay away from that. So I'm just going to assume you're making some money and doing okay. And how can these things help you? I think one of the great things about superannuation, depending on your age, is that if you're putting more into it, generally it's got favorable tax advantages of actually getting money in there. That's one. Then it's got favorable tax advantages of how it's actually taxed while it's in what's called accumulation phase. And thirdly, when you actually get to sort of time and age, it has the benefit of a majority of it can be tax-free, if not all of it, depending on your situation. And there's a whole bunch of things work in that scenario. So it has a lot working for it. Then, what I find, if you're, 40 years old or 45 years old or something like that, and let's say you've got a partner, you've got a little bit in superannuation, and you start putting in the maximum concessional maximum each year, or couple, the odds of you getting to another million are going to be probably pretty high. You can go and work out from the calculators and so forth, or even reach out to us and we can sort it out for you what that actually looks like. I feel a lot of people look at different people who have made some money over time and feel like they're lucky. Generally, it's been lucky over 20 years or 30 years. It's generally not happened in 12 months for most people. So you've really got to work at it generally. So with superannuation, I've got a lot of people building into that million, already hit the million. And I find it's one of those asset classes with love and attention can really take off for you. One of the guys, I was doing a review with one of my clients today, and between the share market and his super, he's hit $1 million. Got a few investment properties as well. They're sort of more recent, so we'll see how those do. But from where that particular guy started 12 months ago, 5 years ago now, he's been with me 5 years now. It's just totally different world. And I reminded him today, it was quite incredible. So you got the superannuation. I feel for most people it's going to be one of the easiest ones to potentially get to the next million. Then you've got the share market. You're just adding money to the shares or ETFs or managed funds or a whole bunch of things. And, look at a whole bunch of things for our clients and adding money to that consistently. And what I find is, same thing over a period of time, you don't have generally you're paying with after-tax money unless you're a business owner or something like that, and you have different opportunities. It's a whole different way of thinking and what you would have available to you. But from a share market perspective, if you started with 20,000 or 30,000 and you're adding 20 or 30,000 to it a year, and you've done that for 10, 15 years, 20 years, it's going to end up to be a lot of money. So over time, generally what I find is superannuation is really tax effective, your wages and so forth, depending on your time horizons. The share market investments is one of those investments generally most people are not borrowing any money to do. They're more just putting the money in there, and the ups and downs of the share market is not for the faint-hearted, and that has the potential over a considerable period of time to get you there as well. And then you have property investment, which is a different vehicle completely. A lot of Australians are sort of with property. There are plenty that dislike it as well and have had different experiences. So there's plus and negatives on all fronts, basically. And when it comes to property investments, generally that's a leverage game. So with a smaller amount of money, you can borrow a lot more money to potentially buy a much larger asset, and the return on that asset over time, over 5, 10, 15 years, hopefully grows, and you can sell it down the track and make a capital gain. And that, depending on your capacity, how much you can borrow and all those type of things, most people fall into the trap of the serviceability becomes a problem and how much money you can borrow, and also everything else that goes with it. So, what I find from giving you my view from all my clients that I've dealt with, and I've got guys who are into property investment and so forth, and they've made a ton of money. They're experts at it. That's sort of their profession. They know exactly what they're doing. Those guys can do generally pretty good in property. Then you've got the ones who don't do that and dabble in it a little bit. And you've heard me talk about many things. I'm not sure. I don't like dabbling too much. I like really creating investment plans and sticking to those and adding money to your investments and so forth to really make a consistent sort of return over time, where, having out of all the three, my personal experience and what I've seen with my clients is that superannuation is generally going to be an easier one to get with the clients that I deal with to probably that $1 million and beyond. The share market is probably going to be a harder one to get to that beyond, but it's a great one that potentially can build up some money over time and also give you access to money before you can access your super and those types of things. And then you've got the property investor. Generally what I find is that's one of the hardest ones. And the reason is most people don't end up buying 2, 3, 4 properties, which that's what generally it's going to take to get to sort of $1 million profit. So generally if you're buying your first investment property, I haven't seen too many people make $1 million from their first investment property. Not that hasn't been done, and plenty of people have done it and all those type of things, but it's probably unlikely. So unless you're willing to buy 2, 3, 4, then, over time you have the potential for growth and all those sorts of things. So, and that's why the interesting concept comes around your next million. I feel, and what I build out for my clients is really we want access to cash, access to money that you're going to be able to live off and continue our lifestyle and really see that progress and all of that. So the Shield system where the investment part of that in Shield system takes into account super, the share market, your property and business if you do have one. And what I find is all the investments can run together. They're different, and the way they work are different, and the way, depending on your risk profile and all those things, it can be totally different as well. So if you're looking to add an extra $1 million to your bottom line, over time, depending on your horizon, I think probably the easiest one I've seen work over time has been share market. Second and third one, I think, the property market has more potential than the share market side of things, but also it needs a lot more involvement and a lot more risk, and you have to borrow a lot more money and those sorts of things, where if you're adding money to the share market, that can work really well for you as well. So it'd be really interesting to see your comments. If you got some comments of what you tried, what you made your first million in, where you feel like your second one and third one and fourth one. From my journey, I build out. So I've got enough in property, I've got the share market, I've got super, and I've got my business, and really sort of pushing all those out to be able to sort of benefit from those, and my family benefit from those for a long time. And it's not one's better than the other. It's just like my point of view, they'll have more opportunities at different stages of your life, and depending on how much money you earn and your capability and those type of things, different would make sense. But I'd love to hear your comments. If you need some help planning her out, generally, plans that we do for our clients are generally going okay. They have a bit of surplus money. They are established. They have a bit going for them where we can just really look to make all that go better. And faster, and really plan it out to that next million or hit that next 2 million and so forth. Like, there's just been so many people that have reached those levels, but not everyone. Obviously, that's not going to be the case for everyone. Some people are struggling and some people just move forward slightly. But the one thing that I find, if you're trying to move forward financially and try to move forward that 50 to sort of 250 grand bracket, and then making all the right moves and doing the right things, you can build up momentum. And over time, that next million may be potentially for you, or multi going from there. So I just wanted to really do this short video on just, I feel like your next million could look like. It could be from super, could be the share market, could be property. And obviously, if you're into business, it could be that as well. That, it's an active strategy, so it's a little bit different from the passive one. So I hope that helps. And I'd love to see your comments below, and I look forward to chatting to you soon.